Celvin Richardson, and today in this session I'm going to talk about classroom management, or you can say knowing your student and your environment. Uh, we're going to talk a little bit about classroom management in the classroom as far as with behaviors of kids and getting a little bit of positive behavior with the kids. But first, I'm going to give you a little background about me. I'm a special ed teacher. I've been teaching for the last 10 years. Started off in juvenile probation, did that for about 10 years. At this point with education, I've taught every subject, math, science, English and writing, and history. I've also taught K through 12. So I've taught every subject, every grade level. And at this time I'm looking to further my experience in education as far as with moving up. But enough about me, let's get to the lesson. Knowing your kid, knowing your student and your environment. Let's start off with the definition of classroom environment. Classroom environment is a process in which the teacher and the school creates an environment that is appropriate for students in the classroom setting. Then we're going to look at effective classroom management is basically requires common sense with the teacher having consistency as far as with undervaluing teachers, having a sense of fairness, courage, and these skills that require teachers to understand more than one way of psychological and development levels of their students. And some of these things are good for classroom teachers that maintain an atmosphere to enhance learning. Basically what it's saying is you need to be able to go into the classroom, learn how to look at your kids and be able to approach them in a developmental stage and having them levels of learning to move up in their grade level, plus knowing how to deal with their behaviors in the classroom to an extent where you can calm a kid down when you need to calm a kid down and create that environment for learning for all kids. Classroom expectations deal with procedures and classroom rules, which are two totally separate entities when it comes to the classroom. Procedures deal with your day and how you're going to do things in the classroom. Behavior deals with how a person is going to conduct themselves in the classroom with the norms that you create with the student. I would suggest at that point creating those norms with the kids, have the kids create some of those rules just to do a little more buy-in for the kids in the classroom. That's what we're looking at when we say the expectations for a kid in the classroom. And I'm going to deviate a little bit from looking at the screen because since I wrote the screen, I can basically paraphrase what we're going in and talk about. What you want to do, what we're talking about in this section is you want to be able to create a lesson and procedures from the beginning of the classroom, the bell rings, to the end of the classroom. That means when the kids enter the classroom and sit down, they should know the expectations. But when you create your procedure and rules, kids should know each day what they need to do when they come in the classroom. If you have a startup or a participatory set that you're going to do, or a starting set that you're going to do, or an assignment for the kids, have that out where the kids know exactly where to go to pick that up. Keep the kids active throughout the whole class period. That will lessen the distractions and disruptions that you have in class. When kids know exactly what to expect going into a classroom, they can behave better because they know there's nothing out of the way and you can control those situations in the classroom. So we want to make sure that we have this session. They should know what's going to happen with attendance, how they're approaching attendance. Are you going to call the roll for the kids, or are you going to look around the classroom to make sure who's here and who's not? Various ways. What you also want to do is make sure the kids know what materials they need to have at the beginning of class out. Make sure if you're having, say with me being a biology teacher this year, make sure the kids know that if we're doing a lab, I will make sure the kids know the class before that we're going to be doing a lab on such and such day, and that they know when they walk in the classroom what's expected, what they need to do in walking in the classroom, and where we're going to go from then. So if the kids have an assignment in the classroom, make sure the kids know that to go pick up the assignment, start working on the assignment. You come in, you take the roll, and then you start with your lesson of the day with your guided instruction, what have you. Kids need to know if there's a time frame that you're going to use for independent work or seat work, If you have station data, where the stations are, so they can rotate through the stations. I've already remember one of the teachers when I first started off, she had it where the kids knew exactly where their work was. So when they walked in the classroom, they picked up their work for the day. They sat down, they started on the work. They knew when they completed the work, take it back to the folder, put it in there, and they could move on to the next assignment. And that's how the class flowed. Various teachers do it various ways in the classroom. But make sure you have something clear and set out for the kids when they're in the classroom, and make sure you let them know exactly what the agenda is for that day. Have a way at the end of class where you can do an exit ticket, or what I normally do is a verbal oral assignment that I have for the kids, so I can start asking questions to the kids to make sure they grasp the lesson at the end, to make sure if I need to go back in the next class session and do a reteach on some of the items that the kids didn't absolutely get in the assignment. As in, like my last instruction with the kids before we went out of coronavirus, we were working on genetics and the imprints using the RNA. So I need to make sure the kids understand that whole process of the RNA and the mRNA, the messenger RNA. Make sure the kids understands what happens when that happens, because when they get to have an assessment on it, they need to know exactly how to look at diagrams, to be able to decipher and explain what's going on with those questions. So we want to make sure that the kid has their work in hand, but we also want to make sure that the kids is disciplined and know the setting and the activities that's going on in classroom. Moving on to the next slide. Classroom arrangements, a biggie, especially for new teachers coming into the system. New teachers, make sure you understand the arrangement in the classroom can prohibit a lot of behaviors that go on in class. Make sure you arrange the class where you have sight on all the students in the classroom. Make sure you can see exactly what's going on in your classroom, because when you turn your head for that second, kids wind up doing something. Or they're giving something they're not supposed to do, or they're passing notes, or they might throw paper balls at another kid, or anything like that might happen in the classroom to escalate and prohibit other kids from learning or distract them. So we want to make sure that we have a visual contact. Arrange the seating in a way that's conducive to your classroom learning. If it's a classroom that you do a lot of teacher stations and everything, make sure you arrange in the classroom. If you need to position your students in a way that kids that receive services for their disability is more apt to sit them in a certain area of the classroom, where if you have a second teacher come in the classroom, that they can work with them kids while you're working with the other kids, make sure the classroom arrange that. For new teachers, I would suggest, just my suggestion, that a seating chart, you give the kids a seating chart at the beginning. My thing with that is, I tell the kids from the get-go, at any point in the classroom, I reserve the right to be able to move you to another seat based on behaviors that I see in class. If I see a kid talking too much in class, I let the kid know, I need you to move over here, and I let them know, it's not that you're in trouble, I'm preventing you from getting in trouble or being disruptive in the classroom. So I will move them to another seat. But it also will help you learn the kids in your classroom and learn the names that you have in classroom. Some teachers come in, they let the kids sit wherever they want to. With me, I kind of do that for the first week and let the kids do it just to see if the kids sit in a way that's conducive to their learning. Some kids love sitting in the front, some kids love sitting in the back. You might have some kids that in their IEP, they have preferential seating. It might not mean sitting close to the board, it might mean close sitting to the teacher. So you have to rearrange your classroom to account for those type of students in your classroom. So make sure you rearrange your classroom in a way, which that's what we're talking about on this one, and make sure you arrange it where you're using the technology in your classroom if you have a smart board. I found out some classrooms in the smart board is on the side of the classroom and the whiteboard is up front. So, and if you use both of those at sometimes, which in my algebra class, I used to use that because I would set problems up on the whiteboard, but I also would set times up when I'm doing like Quizlet or IXL on the smart board, I would set that up there. So depending on the lesson for the day, but like I said, when the kids walking in the classroom, they know which one we're working on for that day in that lesson. Make sure you keep them abreast on what's going on, because it will lessen distractions and keep the class running more smoothly in the classroom. Make sure you have your lanes in the classroom. make sure people can walk through. You don't want a kid walking through or walking up to the desk or walking to the shop or something where they have to bump another seat or they have to step over a book bag in the classroom. Make sure the lanes are free and clear of obstructions so kids can walk, and you can walk freely when you want to walk around and look at kids' work and talk to other kids about their lesson and do one-on-one work with the kid. You want to make sure you can get through the lanes to get to the kids too. Basically, that's what we're looking at when we look at the classroom arrangement and seating in the lanes. Next one is focusing on managing academics. Make sure your lesson is tight. I cannot emphasize that much. Make sure you have enough work to last from when that bell rings to when that bell ends or you start your exit assignment or ticket in the classroom. You want to make sure you work there, because any downtime a kid has is time that a kid becomes disruptive in the classroom and will instruct others from getting their learning in the classroom and will take your attention away. But I will say, as we move to the next slide with this, when you have a kid and you have some type of disruption in the classroom talking or the kid on the phone or something, you want to make sure you handle that right then. Stop it right then before it goes any further to deal with that behavior. It might be certain ways to deal with that behavior. I know for myself, when I see a kid and the lesson's going on and I see a cell phone, them down and they're texting in the classroom, first thing I'll say is, put it away. I do not single out the kid in the classroom. I do not go to the kid or anything. I say, put it away. I look at the kid knows to put the phone away. I tell the kids all the time, put it away to the end of class or when you go to lunch. That's your time to get on the phone. Anything you're texting can, and even the kids say that it's my mom on the phone. Well, your mom knows that you're in school. She knows that. She knows you're in class. What she can tell you, if it's that important, she can call the office or have the office call me, and we can have you go to the office and talk to your parent. And I normally make sure at the beginning of the school year, I notify all parents of my rules and everything in the classroom, and they have my cell phone number, my email address, and they have the school phone number, being get in touch with me anytime they want to. Even if it's at night and they need some assistance at night, I'm available for my parents. Normally I haven't had problems with that, where parents call me all times of night, but you want to make yourself accessible to the parents because they can be handy. A lot of times when a kid is misbehaving in my classroom, I will text a parent and let them know what's going on. A lot of times the parent will text me back and they want to talk to the kid immediately so they can nip those behaviors in the bud at the time. After that, normally the kid comes in there and they proceed to finish the classroom without any other disruptions in the classroom. That's part of the classroom rules that I set up at the beginning with the time frame and what's affect when I have to get on a kid for behavior. They know the kid has a few warnings and then we move on to the next step. That's something that you need to establish at the beginning of the school year so we can fall back on that when something happens in the classroom. Certain other behaviors, when kids are playing around in the classroom, stop that immediately before it gets any serious. Sometimes the kids say something another kid don't like, or they embarrass the kid a little bit too much, and then things get serious and everything. But you want to nip that when it starts, when all the talking back stops. Stop it immediately. They're in the classroom to learn, not to talk to one another at that time. If they're discussing schoolwork, that's the thing, but like I tell the kids in the classroom, when we're doing seat work, I don't have a problem with you talking, but if I can hear your conversation where I'm at my desk or in front of the classroom, you're talking too loud. And I will grant kids certain times in the classroom where they can converse with other students. I don't have a problem with that in the classroom, but you have to control that the way you control it in your classroom and make that up front with the kids in the classroom. Make sure all those disrupting things, they know what they're doing. But if a kid is doing their proper, coming in a good day and they're having a very good day, you get an A on the quiz or something, make sure you notify the parent and let the kid know you will notify the parent and let them know. That goes a long way with setting a good rapport with the students, letting them know that they're doing good, and you're not going to contact the parent when they do something bad all the time, but when they do something good, you're going to notify the parent. And it might be that you're setting up behaviors with the kid where if they do something good, there's a reward on top of it. It's kind of sort of like a token system in the classroom where if the kid's moving up and they're doing something well, you reward them for that. At the end of the week, I reward them. I've always had a bet with the kids. I don't really want to call it a bet, but I've had a wager with the kids where if everybody everybody in the classroom pass a test in the classroom, I will buy them lunch. And I'm not talking about pizza, I will buy them a real dinner for lunch one day. To this day, I haven't had it where at least one kid doesn't pass the exam, but it helps the other kids to help others, as in that peer tutoring and peer relationship in the classroom, where they're pushing other kids to perform in classroom as well as they're performing in the classroom. So just little incentives to have the kids working to perform well in the classroom. I've had the experience with last year in teaching, where my algebra class, I had a 94% pass rate for the SOLs. I was very proud of that because all my kids passed except for 2 and never got a chance to instruct them because they were homebound kids and applied studies kids. So, in actuality, if I'd have had a chance to work with those kids, I would believe I could have had them to pass 2. But they scored a 360, which was pretty high for those kids because both of them were kids with disabilities. So, we're looking at this. And my last point is the most serious disruptions, such as fighting, continuous interruptions in lessons, possessing drugs, stealing, and requires direct action for school. If you get a behavior in the classroom that's very dangerous for other kids, report that immediately. Make sure that's reported. Make sure the kids understand that you are going to report that behavior and you're not going to tolerate that in the classroom.